Greetings, viewers, and welcome back to Just Short of Fantastic, and welcome to spooky season. Hashtag thrift finds. Today, we will be talking about Hocus Pocus 2. I didn't make categories for this one. I just sort of have a list of things that I wrote while I was watching the movie, and I am just going to do sort of a ramble. So strap in, here we go. I'm a big fan of the castle opening, and I love when Disney gets to do variations on it. Chef's kiss. Oh, also, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen Hocus Pocus or Hocus Pocus 2, I'm just going to be moving in and around with the plot details. I'll try not to give like big spoilers, but I will be saying a few things. Anyway, the beginning of the movie is like 1653. Yeah, it's 1653. It's Salem. We see the young Sanderson sisters and sort of like what was the incident that made them into witches. And that was kind of interesting. The three young actresses they have playing those characters are very clearly overselling the bit, which I personally love. And as a big fan of camp, I just, good job to these three actresses. I hope they have very good careers. I know that won't be for everyone. It'll be a bit of a hard sell right at the beginning of the movie, but stick with it. The older Sanderson sisters in this movie are just phenomenal. Definitely worth the price of admission. Going back to my last video, my quumps as it were, it didn't really answer a lot of my questions in that it did by not answering the questions. The OG kid cast is nowhere to be seen or heard in this movie, and I kind of expected that. But I also have a lot of questions about Izzy, Becca, and Cassie. Who are their parents? What are they doing? We hear about Izzy's mom, Susan, a couple of times, and we know that Cassie's dad is the Mayor Trask, who is an actual important figure in the movie. And personally, my favorite character in the movie, he is the real tragedy of this entire thing. But we don't know anything about Becca, her parents. There might be a throwaway line at the beginning of the movie that I didn't catch, but she's, sort of the main character. It's her journey, more or less. We don't know anything about her. We don't know anything about her parents. I have a conspiracy theory that maybe her mom is Allison from the first movie, but who knows? Who knows? So I have a lot of questions about that. I have a lot of questions about the Hocus Pocus universe in general, particularly this witch mother that we meet in 1653. We meet this witch who appears before the young Sanderson sisters and is all like, hey, you're a witch. This is what witches do. You're a coven. And she gives Winifred the book. And then she just disappears. And I want to know more about her. She's amazing. What happened to her coven? I think Agatha got rid of it. Anyway, so I have questions about that this movie doesn't really answer, and I didn't really expect it to. Anyway, moving right along, this movie has really good humor in it, like genuine laughs were had. There's great comedy. The Sanderson sisters are even better this time around. I have a feeling that Bet and Sarah and Kathy just got together on set and had an absolute ball after all this time. Like, that chemistry is still there. They're still amazing together. Kathy Najimy is just amazing. I mean, Sarah Jessica Parker and Bette Midler are absolute legends in and of themselves. But Kathy Najimy is just such an idol for me. I love her so much, and she is so great in this movie. However, I feel like there's a movie that could have been made that was still funny, but not a family comedy. I feel this movie sort of invokes the specter of patriarchy without really doing anything to disrupt the status quo, mostly because we don't know what the status quo is, because with the original Hocus Pocus, like, we see Max and we see sort of what his dilemma is, what his family situation, what he needs to do to accept his new life, whereas with Becca, it's just kind of like there is no narrative stake for her. I mean, it's her 16th birthday, and by the end, spoiler alert, she'll find out that she's a witch. But, like, aside from losing her best friend, which we don't even really know is her best friend until they bring it up, like, 2/3 of the way through the movie, losing her best friend to the high school jock, and then getting her friend back? I don't know. It's kind of, it's weird narratively. I mean, the Hocus Pocus, the original, was weird narratively too, but still, there's just, it's a bit odd. Let's not get lost in the weeds here. I feel like this movie could have been deeper than it was, and I'm glad it's not, because honestly, it's a Halloween family comedy. It shouldn't be getting into these deep issues, but it brings up things that could definitely be dived deeper into. That was great wordsmithing there on my part. Anyway, going back to my quumps. Yes, I loved both of the musical numbers that are in this movie. Stick around for the credits because you get the full version of the Witches Are Back song. The musical set piece in the middle of the movie is a version of One Way or Another, which I thought was delightful. But aside from the drag queen Sanderson sisters in the competition and a very, very quick peek in on two men who are very clearly boyfriends watching the original Hocus Pocus, there's not a whole lot of queer representation in this movie, which I found a little bit disappointing, but c'est la vie. None of my quumps came true, and I knew that was all pie in the sky. However, the announcement for Deadpool 3 was made, and you better believe that I have quumps for that, because Deadpool is queer as f***. Also, I saw a trailer for a gay Christmas movie on October 1st, and it gave me emotional damage, and y'all, that ain't right. Speaking of disappointment, I was very disappointed with the Sanderson sisters' lack of exposure to current technology. I mean, a lot has changed since 1993 technologically, and as I laid out in my previous video, there was so much potential with introducing the Sanderson sisters to smartphones and the internet and all of that. And there's one really great bit with Alexa, which I thought was hilarious, and there's an ongoing gag with Mary's Roombas, but I just feel like there could have been more. I'm also very disappointed in Becca and Izzy. I mean, even I, an aged millennial, could have figured out an emoji-based SOS text message. Be sure to stick around to the end of the credits because there is a post-credits scene that leaves the door open for further sequels. I read somewhere that Kathy Najimy wants the next movie, if there is one, to be animated, and I feel like that would be a great direction to take this universe in, because animation just opens the door for a whole lot of things that you can do, especially if your three main characters are, you know, getting up in age, and they can still do voice work while your animators can keep the characters looking young and lively. I feel like there's still a lot that you can do with these characters, with this universe, with the whole concept. I think it would be great. I also really enjoyed the fact that they called out the whole virgin lighting the black candle bit. Although, in my opinion, they didn't quite go far enough, because I have lit many a candle, but I've never lit a candle, if you know what I'm saying. I just think that we need to be having a more nuanced and serious conversation about the whole virgin, non-virgin dichotomy that we're setting up and continuing in our media. I hope you got to enjoy a little bit of spooky season before Christmas started, because it wasn't even October and I was already seeing Christmas stuff and hearing Christmas music, and I am not okay with it. So anyway, that was my performance review for Hocus Pocus 2. It was a bit more of a ramble than usual, but I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed giving it. And now, like Mary, I too need a snack. So until next time, stay just short of fantastic.